Hi everyone, so today I have a bit of a sad update on this video. Little Vitaz, who is the bunny you can see there in the little red jumper and the suit, unfortunately he had to be put to sleep last week, and he was doing really well. He was doing really well. I mean, he was obviously a disabled bunny, as I mentioned in my last video, so he had limited use of his back legs. He was an older bunny, and he came to me about a year and a half ago, and he had, at that time, he was having problems with his back legs, so he needed to be inside somewhere where he could be warm and have treatment for his legs. So he came to me about a year and a half ago, and he was on lots of different treatments for his legs, and although he still had the impairment, he still managed to get around really well, as I was showing you in my last video. But unfortunately, the position that he was in put a lot of pressure on his arms to support him, and he was leaning very much on his chest, which put a lot of pressure on his chest and compressed his chest quite a lot. And he had breathing difficulty with that on and off. So even though everything else was going well, he'd put on a lot of weight. He'd put on 300 grams in the last month, which is wonderful, and he was doing really well with all that. But unfortunately, his breathing issues got really bad overnight, just suddenly, and he was really gasping and struggling for breath. And we took him to the vet the next morning, and they agreed that it was the issue of his posture, and just that he was so old that his muscles were quite tired with supporting himself. So we made the very hard decision to let him be at peace and be put to sleep. I had wondered if that was going to be the case, so the morning before his appointment at the vet, I gave him all the treats and all the love, and because he still had a great appetite. It was just the breathing was hard, but he still had a wonderful appetite. And it's frustrating, because if everything else was going so well, if that was something that we could have treated, the breathing, I think he would have had a little bit longer, which would have been lovely, but it wasn't something we could treat, and he was suffering and he was struggling, and it was just unfair to him. Although I just wanted to take him home and keep him here, it was unfair to him. That was about me, not him. And the reason I bring these bunnies into my home is to give them a good retirement that they can enjoy, not to bring them here and have them suffer. So it was the kindest thing for him to let him go and let him be put to sleep and be at peace. And I was there with him and giving him lots of love while he gently drifted off and was at peace. And we brought him home and let the other bunnies say their goodbyes. And then we buried him at Big Ears Animal Sanctuary, where he originally came from. And they have a beautiful property there. So he was an amazing little guy. The rabbit's room feels a lot, even though he was a tiny little bunny, he took up a lot of room in that rabbit's room. He made it so lively, and he made it so happy, and he'd just zip around that room so fast. He had an amazing spirit. He was a tiny little bunny with a big spirit. And it does feel really empty without him, even though it's only one bunny and a small bunny taken out. It feels very empty without him, and I do miss him a lot. He was my special needs bunny. As I mentioned in my last video, the way his little foot went underneath him when he hopped and sat and things, he constantly would wee or pee on his foot, and it was getting very, very sore, and there was a big risk of infection from the skin constantly being wet. So he wore a diaper and a little suit over the top of that to keep him clean and dry, and then he had the little onesie type suit on to keep his nappy on, because when he scooted along it would scoot his nappy off, so he had that to keep his nappy on. And then he had a little jumper to keep him warm, because as is often the case with older bunnies and disabled bunnies, they can have a little bit of trouble maintaining their temperature, so that was just keeping him warmer now that the cooler weather was coming on. So I just recently bonded him back with his siblings again, Cinnamon and Reuben, and he'd really enjoyed having their company. He'd enjoyed being a part of a big group of bunnies, because we'd recently bonded some different pairs into the larger bunny room group from separate, individual pairs, and he really enjoyed having that space to scoot around, and he enjoyed having all those different bunnies to snuggle with and cuddle with and have attention from, and he really did enjoy being reunited with his siblings again, which I'm really glad he got that time and he had that experience. And I definitely will miss him terribly, but I am so glad that he's now at peace and he's not suffering. You know, he was such a little dynamo that he would just go and go and go and go until he absolutely couldn't go anymore. And I could see, even though he was still eating, even though he was still able to move, he was really struggling with that breathing, and he kept tipping over, I guess because he was just unbalanced with his breathing. He kept tipping over and he couldn't get himself righted into the right position again. So it's always a really hard decision to make, whether or not it's time to say goodbye. But, you know, I went through all of the options and I thought, you know, it's not going to get any better. There's nothing that we can do for it, and it's not going to get better. So it was, for him, was the kindest thing that we could do, as much as we miss him. So I just thought I'd let you know that that's happened, and yeah, thank you for watching. I hope to do I have another video that I've almost completed, which is about the food that I feed my older bunnies. And Vitaz is in that one because I've nearly filmed all of the pieces for that one. So you will see Vitaz in that, and that will be his last video. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Lots of love. Bye.